The International Christian Embassy Jerusalem is your embassy in the heart of Israel, founded in 1980. From our headquarters in Jerusalem through our branches in over 80 nations and yours in Canada, we seek to challenge the church to take up its scriptural responsibility, to remind Israel of the promises made to her in the Bible, and to be a source of practical assistance to all the people in the land of Israel. On today's program, Project Moses, Bringing Ethiopian Jews Home. A panel questions, are both sides to blame in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? Featuring the art and design of jewelry making. And Pastor Mark Blitz answers, whatever happened after the blood moons? Isaiah chapter 11, verse 12. He will set up a banner for the nations, and will assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah, from the four corners of the earth. Up next, Project Moses, Bringing Ethiopian Jews Home.
After the Jews were exiled from the land of Israel and dispersed among the nations, within them there remained a dream that by next year we will be in Jerusalem. And the term used for describing this return to Jerusalem is Aliyah.
In Hebrew tradition, whenever a person becomes closer to God, they make an aliyah. And so when someone comes to Israel and fulfills that dream, that prayer of to next year in Jerusalem, they are going up spiritually. It's not just immigrating, it's not just moving from place to place, it's fulfilling this commandment of next year in Jerusalem, of going up to be closer to where you're meant to be. The Ethiopian Jews have been extremely faithful under duress, under persecution, under harsh living conditions. Beyond that, the people that are living today still in Ethiopia represent a very complex reality. They all have family members living in Israel. So you have horrible circumstances of a brother here and a brother there. Sometimes it can be a mother here and some of her children there, or vice versa. Literally, families are torn apart that need to be made whole again. Aside from that, the conditions that they're living in Ethiopia are difficult as far as nutrition, as far as health. These are people that their faith and their desire to come to Israel uprooted them from their villages. These are not people that are living their daily lives like generations before and praying to one day return to Jerusalem. These are people that already became Abrahams. These are people that left their villages and came to the city of Gondar and congregated together with this dream, with this vision, and are living there almost as refugees in their own country, struggling to survive. And we need to bring them.
My name is Oshra Friedman. I started my journey to Israel when I was 5. I'm doing my PhD at the Haifa University. I'm married, proud to be a mother for 3. And I'm Israeli citizen from Ethiopia, and I'm proud Jewish. Before we left Ethiopia to Israel, my 3 brothers did already Aliyah, immigrated to Israel. So they were already here waiting for us, even though we didn't have any connection with them. And my parents knew that this is the time. They got the sign that they're supposed to leave, and they just packed everything in one night and they walked. And we have been told to be quiet, and we walked with the parents. And lots of families, we were about 30 families, not all of them survived the way. We walked for 3 months. And for me, that experience of Operation Moses, it's a journey that opened doors for me, opportunities that me as a person and a woman and Ethiopian community can be a little bit something else. We can achieve a little bit more and to learn how to live in a new country. In the eye of a child, I learned lots of things. I have been experienced a lot of things that I never had. That was the first time that I saw a plan, a track, even a building, and also find out that not all the Jewish are black. That was also a surprise for me. So for me, that operation was a very significant moment that actually started my whole new life in Israel. From the first time that I went to study, I learned how much I don't know and I need more, and I have this hunger to study more and more and more. For me, it was amazing because I thought that now I can do things that maybe I didn't dream about, but I know I'm capable to do.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. Now it shall come to pass, if you diligently obey the voice of the Lord your God, to observe carefully all his commandments, which I command you today, that the Lord your God will set you high above all nations of the earth. Up next, panel discussion. Are both sides equally to blame in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
Welcome to our panel discussion. We're asking the question, are both sides equally to blame in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict? My guests today, Corey Hembry-Babechko, Mark Vandermaas, and Bob Mayton. The Palestinian-Israeli issue and the peace process is loaded, and it's often stated. In fact, it's the order of the day that it's both. Both sides have to use restraint. Now, we're referring to an article that was written in the Arutz Shiva, and this is a national newspaper in Israel. The guy who wrote this article really went on a tirade against our prime minister, against Canada weighing in on blaming both sides, and it's entitled, "Israel is Not a Hockey Game, Mr. Trudeau," by Jack Engelhard, his name is. Now, he's referring to Canada delivering a, quote, tough message to Israel regarding Israeli and Palestinian violence. But then he continues on to say, sarcastically, now both sides are equally at fault for the spree of deadly stabbings that have tyrannized the Jewish state over the past few months. So, the big question to start with, are both sides to blame? And I'm going to start with you on this one, Corey.
Well, you know, I think especially for Canadians, and we see this movement in the Canadian young people as well, it seems like a very attractive notion on the front. You're not picking sides, you're trying to stay the middle ground, but you really can't choose a middle ground. I mean, and truth is never a middle ground. You have to look into the history of the issue. You have to look at what's actually going on the ground, and we need to, if we're going to be reputable people, we need to try to find the truth in every situation, and the truth isn't, neutral. It never is. It never has been. So that, I mean, looking at this issue just from the very base grounds, you have to look into what's actually going on. We see a lot of terrorism happening, and you can't side with terrorism. Never.
Absolutely.
So that's just one minor point of the issue.
I would absolutely, actually I agree with the statement. I say that both sides are to blame. On the Arab-Palestinian side, you have rabid Jew hate that is trying to destroy the Jewish state, a lot of anti-Semitism, the violence against, women, children, athletes, just terrible violence against innocent people. And on the Israeli side, they are partly to blame as well, because instead of holding up their land title deed from the Mandate for Palestine, in which the entire world, including Canada, said that the land west of the Jordan River was for the Jewish people and that they could live there and rebuild their communities, instead of doing that, they instead live in fear and say things like, well, we really want peace, but we don't have a peace partner. Or, well, Jews are really nice people and we contribute a lot to the world. That's true. We need the land for defense. Well, that may be true. But the fact is that the Jewish leadership, the Israeli leadership, need to stand up and say, We are owners, not occupiers. There can be no peace without truth, and the truth is we are owners, not occupiers, because we have a land title deed from the League of Nations. And Canada was a member of the League of Nations at that time, and it is absolutely immoral that my country, our country, does not stand for that agreement and uphold that agreement. Why are we talking about new two-state solutions when the mandate for Palestine in 1922 represented the original two-state solution, when they took land that was supposed to go to the Jewish people east of the Jordan River and instead gave it to Arabs, as most of the land was, and now they want to divide the land again and then blame the Jews for defending themselves against monstrous acts. I mean, it just disturbs me greatly.
Now I want to deviate a bit, because you made the comment about our country not standing up for Israel with this regard. Now, Trudeau has been very explicit in the news. They've quoted him about saying he supports Israel. Even in Parliament, there was, and we'll be discussing this on another panel about the anti-BDS vote, and they finally went along with that vote, and we are supporters of Israel. There's no ifs, buts, or in between. But yet, you do have these nuances, and I'd like to hear what you think about it, because you're saying that he's not a supporter. He's saying he is. The media says he is. What is your view
well,
on that?
Well, the fact is that as much as I appreciated Mr. Harper's stand, the former Prime Minister's stand for Israel, the fact remains is that during the entire tenure of his government, the Foreign Affairs website still condemned Israel for an supposedly illegal occupation, and referred to settlements, and he had many years to change that. And that policy hasn't been changed. So officially, according to the Canadian Foreign Affairs website, Canada does not recognize the decisions that we supported in 1922 as part of the League of Nations. So it needs to change. I hope that Mr. Trudeau would change that, but I'd be very surprised if he did, because Harper had the chance and didn't. And I think it's a question of morality, of Canadian values. We were part of the whole world. We made promises to the Jewish people. We helped give the Jewish people back their homeland. And now when the world is trying to take it away from them, we're doing what? Are we standing with them and saying, no, they're owners, not occupiers?
Bob?
Yeah, the Conservatives, who are the previous government, have a very strong, very principled position on Israel, and have done a lot to support the Prime Minister and Israel, this particular government in Israel, through a very, very difficult process. When there's a jihad going on, when the Israelis are being attacked in the streets, Jews are being attacked specifically in the streets and being knifed by Palestinians. If you go on YouTube and look at some of the videos of these things, we don't really hear too much about it, but there are series after series after series of knifing attacks taking place that we very rarely hear about. The Liberals are in a difficult position because they're a very pragmatic party. Their principles are to be pragmatic. That's basically what they're about. And they're caught on the horns of a dilemma because a lot of their support came from Muslims across the country. They're a major reason why they were elected. And so they're caught in a real dilemma. They also have the issue of Obama to deal with. Obama, who, along with the Russians, is trying to remove the Golan Heights from the jurisdiction of Israel and give it to Syria. Well, the other question is who they're going to give it to in Syria is another question. But the Liberals have been prevaricating. They've been going back and forth on this issue. They've taken a position that they support Israel, but they're not very strong on that conviction, and I think they need to get stronger.
Yes, before we close, there's also something that people, that resonates with Canadians. We don't like to see people suffering. And let's face it, the Palestinian people are suffering. And this is something not often addressed, but we also need to ask ourselves, as Corey mentioned earlier on, why? Why are they suffering? A lot of people don't understand how Hamas actually uses its own people as human shields. They will launch a rocket from a populated area deliberately. They'll launch from hospitals, from schools, put their weapons there, because the agenda is to have Israel fire back, to rack up deaths in the Palestinian areas. in order for the world to see, to continue this hate fest against Israel and this propaganda that's going on.
That's right.
Now, for us to wrap our heads around human shields, that's something that in our culture we don't get.
No.
So it's easy when we see these numbers. Why is Israel killing all these people in the Palestinian lands? We don't know what's behind the scenes, or we don't want to accept the concept of the proven human shields.
Yeah. Just to give an example of the position that's taken by the Canadian Arab Federation, for example, Mohammed El-Rashidi has said that there is racism which precipitated the Charlie Hebdo massacre of the 12 journalists. And he said that the publication of the Mohammed cartoons was an example of racism. This is really underlining the, this is a so-called balanced position, which basically just underlines the, the issues involved in this. It's justifying and apologizing for violence against Israelis and against Jews. And I think that's really, really terrible. I think the Liberal government needs to take a stronger position.
And on that note, we're out of time. We're going to go for a break. We'll be back.
Up next, a jewelry artist and architect discusses the art and design of jewelry making.
We're in Tel Aviv at the Matter of Time Israeli Jewelry Exhibit, and with me is one of the 58 jewelry artists. Would you introduce yourself to our audience?
My name is Deganit Shokem, and I studied architecture and industrial design, and then switched to jewelry. And I'm also a professor in Shenkar College of Engineering, Art and Design, and I'm the head of the master degree for fashion, textile, jewelry, and accessories.
And we have pieces here that belong to you. Can you tell us something about your jewelry?
Well, there are many pieces of mine because I started to work in the 70s. One of the pieces from then was a piece of cloth. Oh. It's from that time. And then I work and design till today. Because I am an architect in my training, my jewelry in the beginning dealt with constructions, how to put on the piece of garment an object, and have the construction of how to put it on as the beauty of it, as the aesthetic of it. Then I switched to materials. It's always dealing with parts in architecture as I see it in jewelry, okay? Then I have a special project which I had a solo exhibition about in Tel Aviv Museum called How Many is One, which dealt with the idea of casting in jewelry, how mistakes and leftovers in the process, how they become pieces of one of a kind. And this is very, very big project of mine, which we can't go into details. But what you see here in the last period of my work is dealing with non-object. The idea is how to take an object, precious stones and so on, and lift them in the air, giving the idea that they are not heavy. And this discusses for me what is value in jewelry and how people should put things on their body, unlike they put it on the wall or in the space, like in architecture.
So really your approach to jewelry is beyond the creative. It's form, function, and fashion. Would that be right?
It's dealing with all these areas. But I think in my work, as I see it, it's the intellectual part and the craftsmanship or the way you produce it, it's half and half. It's not like only coming from your guts, like you see many times in many artworks, but it has this intellectual, for me, it deals with architecture, or with, how you construct not only object, but ideas.
Do you do the geometrics too because of architecture?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah. I teach for many, many years, 30 years, and I see my projects in jewelry like subjects. It's not the time an artist to deal each piece after the other. So there are subjects and many, many subjects that I deal with, like we give exercises to students. So it's hard to say which one is the only one. In each period, I have one which is really the top.
And some of this jewelry wouldn't be just for wearing. Would you actually say that you would could mount it on a wall, that it would be preserved in that way? It's art.
Absolutely.
Art to be worn, but also art to be.
Yes. I think this is a very important thing, what you said now, because each piece, for me, it's a piece of art, could be in the space, could be on the wall, but I deal a lot with the problematic of how you wear it on your body.
Okay.
I think it's a different area, and we have to think and take it into consideration.
Do other jewelry designers take your ideas of how to wear art and implement it in their own design?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Well, you've been teaching for 30 years, so could someone from Canada with an artistic interest come to be trained by you, taught by you?
From Canada? I've been to Haystack. It's near Canada, and gave a workshop like 2 years ago.
Oh, did you? So maybe you should come to Canada and do a workshop, but
I'll be
we want
happy.
people to come to Israel too.
Yeah, well, I go all over the world and give workshops, yes.
Excellent.
And,
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very
you.
much. It's a pleasure.
Luke chapter 21, verse 25. And there will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars, and on the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring.
Have you ever wondered what in the world has happened after all these blood moons? What in the world do these blood moons mean? Well, as you know, there were many people out there that were setting dates, claiming the end of the world, the whole thing was going to blow up or something like that. But the truth be told, these blood moons were simply signs from heaven. God was trying to communicate to earth and that he has a calendar. And these blood moons were based on his calendar, happening on Passover, happening on Sukkot 2 years in a row, in an event that hasn't happened. And the last time was 1967, when Israel recaptured Jerusalem. The time before that was after they became a nation in 1948. It's only happened 9 times in 2,000 years. So we can't deny the significance of these 4 blood moons happening on Passover and Sukkot. But the big question is, what's happened since the blood moons? Well, as for me, I've always felt like these blood moons never meant the end of the world. These blood moons meant basically we need to be on God's calendar, and there was something significant that would be happening in Israel, happening around the world. I've always felt there may be a war in Israel, which is exactly what happened in the Gaza war. We know Israel right now is preparing for another war with Lebanon. There could be a war coming from Iran as they're trying to break every agreement they've ever signed. But also, we have seen horrible terrorist attacks happen over this last year since the blood moons. My goodness, we've had these terror attacks in San Bernardino. We've had terrorist attacks in Paris. We've had terrorist attacks in Brussels, Belgium. We've seen blood flowing in the streets in Israel with multiple stabbings over the last several months, just breaking all records. As far as the economy, we see what's happening. I really believe that we would see a collapse of the economy. We're seeing that happening in Brazil. We're seeing that happening in China. We're seeing that happening in Ukraine. A lot of these economic calamities are coming because of the politicians. We've heard our latest report about the scam. These politicians are hiding money, funneling money in different banks all around the world. This world is really teetering on an economic collapse. I'm not saying it's going to definitely happen this year, but with the political environment going on, I know in America, the political environment is going on in many countries all over the world. I believe we could very well see an economic collapse. Only time will tell. But I definitely believe that these 4 blood moons were major signs from God. Number one, that there would be more blood flowing in the street than what we've been used to, and we've been hearing about all these terrorist attacks. There could be economic calamity coming, and that's what we've been seeing. Just go to any website and you will find out about it. But the most significant thing that I believe that I was promoting about these 4 blood moons and these 2 solar eclipses on the 1st of Nisan, on Rosh Hashanah, was that God was trying to get our attention, that we would get back onto His calendar for these end times that we're living in.
We conclude our program today with some sights and sounds within Israel.
Doesn't.
Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to visit our website at www.icejcanada.tv or call us at 1-866-324-9133. 100% of what we receive from you toward a project goes to that designation. Through your contribution to ICEJ Canada, you can participate by giving to Haifa Home for Holocaust Survivors, Women at Risk, Red Carpet Project, Operation Life Shield, Bomb-Proof Shelters, Shoulder to Shoulder, Alias Support, Bet Singer Children's Home, Israel in Crisis, ICEJ Communication Media Fund, Christian Friends of Yad Vashem, Magen David Adom Emergency Services, Canada Israel Young Adult Scholarship, Equip and Teach, Bet Rachel Strauss Inclusive Community, Gift, Estate and Securities Funds.